Hey you all, Maso hi to fellow dressmakers. You're welcome to another interesting tutorial. My name is Confidence. In this video, I'll be showing you how to make this beautiful blouse. As you can see it here, even though mine came with a little twist. First, I didn't want the collar, and secondly, the back of this blouse came with a little twist. Yeah, it didn't come just as straight as the front, even though that's the initial style, because this is just how I want it. But if you'd like to learn how to go about the cutting and the sewing of this blouse, kindly watch this video to the very end and let's get right into it. We'll be starting with the pattern drafting, and here I've gone ahead to mark out the starting point line, which will serve as the shoulder line and then the center front. Now from the shoulder line, I would go ahead and go down to the half length, which I'm using 17.5, the under bust 13.5, the bust point 10 inches. Then I'm going to rule out the lines this way. So we'll have the bust point, under bust line, and then the waistline. Now on the shoulder line, I'll go ahead and divide the shoulder measurement by 2 and mark it. Then from that point, I'll go down to the chest line or the armhole line, which I'm using 8.5 for this person. I'll get the shoulder measurement by 2 again on that point just to have a straight line. Then I'm going to connect it this same way. You can see me do it here. Next, I'll go ahead and do the standard neckline measurement. Then for the shoulder slope, I'll be using 1.5. Then I'm going to connect it to that standard neckline measurement of 3 inches this way, right? Next, I'm going to come up from the chest line 3 inches. You can decide to get the midpoint of that line. Then on that point, I'll be going in by ½ inch. Then I'm going to connect it to the shoulder tip this way. Next, I'll be taking in the bust measurement divide by 4. I'll mark it here plus extra ½ inch. Okay, you will know why later. Then I'll come to the waistline and take the waist measurement divide by 4 plus extra 1.5 for that. I'll be adding that later. Then I'm going to connect the two lines this way. Now I'm going to curve the remaining part of the armhole just as you can see it here. I already have the neck width of 3 inches. I'll be going down to 3 inches again, and that would be the neck depth, meaning that I use 3 by 3 for the neckline. So if you know whatever you use for your turtleneck, go ahead and do it at this point. Some people do 2.5 by 2.5. You can also do that if that works for you, but this works for this person, even though I ended up not using the collar. Then I'm going to get the bust span measurement of 3.5 on the waistline and on the bust point. Then I'm going to connect it this way. On both sides of that line, I'm going to mark 0.75 on the waistline, right? That's the 1.5 we added as the data allowance. Then coming to the under bust, I'll be going to the side front by 1.1. Then on this side 1 inch. Okay, and that will be what I will use for the under bust tightening. Then I'm going to use my curve this way and curve it to the bust point. Curve this other side. Then I will use this other side of the curve to extend the dark line to the waistline this way. Okay, the next thing I'll do now is to go ahead and get the over bust line. From the bust point, I'll be marking 3.5. I'll be going up by 3.5. Then I'm going to roll it out, and that would serve as the over bust line. Now I'll go ahead and get the midpoint of the shoulder slope. I'll place my measuring tape this way, then mark the midpoint. Then I'll be using a straight ruler to connect it to the bust point. Just a straight line this way. Then on both sides of this line now, on the over bust line, I'll be marking 0.75 on both sides, and that would be the over bust tightening. Then I'll be using this curve to connect it this way to the bust point. At this point, you don't have to make this part really curvy. Then quickly, I'll take the bust dart measurement, and I used 1.5 because 1.5 is the difference between the front and back length. The next thing I'll do now is to go ahead and tighten the yoke, and I'll be using 0.75 to do that. We already used 1.5 to tighten the over bust, so inside that part, I'll be marking 0.375 on both sides of the dark line, just like this. Okay, then I'm going to just connect it, just slant it to the shoulder slope, just as you can see me do it here. It is very simple. So after that, when you measure just this tightening now, you will see that it's 0.75. So I'm going to replace it here, just like this. Then I'm going to extend that line and then use the curvy part of this pattern master to reconnect the armhole, because the existing armhole will not be needing it. Okay, so after that, I'll just go ahead and connect this straight, even though we will not be needing it. Just keep watching, you'll see what I did there. Okay,
I set my eyes on you, babe. Is it love at first sight? Turn on the lights, see the mess you made. 1, 2, in love with you. 3, 4.
now to cut, I'm going to open the dart. I'll just slash it to the bust point this way. Then I'll quickly close the bust dart just like this. I'll first fold and then place it on this line. Yeah, on the bust point line, just like this. Then I'm going to tape it down and then blend in the side measurement line, because it's no longer straight. I'm going to just reconnect it this way, and then we'll go ahead and keep cutting. So watch how I'm going to do this. At this point, I forgot to like make the dart line equal, so I'm going to measure what I have from the overbust to the bust point. Then I'm going to measure this other line to make sure they are the same, and then I will place the remaining part that will make it equal. Then on that point, I'll be taking 0.75 again and then reconnect the dart just like this. Okay, now you can decide to just connect it straight, or you blend it in to this neckline that just straight like this, because the neckline is just straight. Okay, so now I'll go ahead now and cut. Just watch how and where I'll cut this out.
And tell me you know for sure. What you want, believe if you don't believe. I'm not deceived, I'm not deceived. And my love go past the love you give me. If I follow your hand, I beg delete. What you want, believe if you don't believe.
And now I'll go ahead and close in this yoke tightening. I'll fold it this way, then close it and tape it down. Then you can see that the shoulder slope is no longer straight. So after taping it down, I'll go ahead and quickly blend in the line, just as you can see it here. Then now I'll bring in a fresh paper under this yoke part, okay, just this part. Then I'll tape it down, then go ahead and make that part straight. The yoke is just supposed to be straight because the neckline is straight. So I'll tape it down this way, then go ahead and connect it straight just like this. Can you see that? Then I will go ahead and cut it out. And I'll show you how to cut the armhole. So now you go ahead now and cut the previous armhole line you have there, right? That's the effect of the tightening. Can you see? That's just why we use 0.75 to tighten the yoke. If you do not cut that part out, it's still going to be as if you did not tighten the yoke. So by the time I bring in the other pattern, you can see that it's equal, and the armhole is just looking as it's supposed to look on that point. Okay, so we'll keep all this aside, then go over to the back, and I'll start by marking out a starting point line, which will serve as the shoulder line. Now I'll go ahead and start from that line and go down to the half length, which I was supposed to do 16 inches because the front half length is 17 and a half, right? We use 1.5 for the bust dart, meaning that we have 16 inches left out of 17 and a half. But I did 15 and a half here, and that was a mistake. It was after cutting this pattern that I realized I made that mistake and I corrected it. Okay, so I'm going to mark 1 inch zipper allowance here on the center back, right? Then I'll now start from this line now to mark the shoulder measurement divided by 2 on the shoulder line, just like this. Shoulder measurement divided by 2. Then from that point, I'll go down to the armhole and get the shoulder measurement by 2 again on that point, just to have a straight line. Then I'm going to connect it, just as you can see me do it here. Next, I'll go ahead and contour the center back line. I'll be coming in 1 inch from this point. Then I checked and I realized that this paper will not be enough, so I'm going to add the paper to it this way. Yeah, then we'll continue with the measurement. So I came in 1 inch from the waistline. Then I'm going to use this curve and place it just as you can see me place it here, right? Then I'm going to connect it to the top just like this, and that way you have successfully contoured the center back line since the center back is not straight, right? Now I'm going to get the neckline measurement of 3 inches, and here I'll be going down by 1.5. You can do 1 inch. 1 inch, 1.5 works for turtleneck, and with the kind of color you're going for, 1 inch, 1.5 is okay. Okay. Then for the shoulder slope, I'll be using 1 inch and connect it to the neck tip just like this. Next, I'll go ahead now and get the midpoint of this line. I will mark it. Then from that point, I'll be going in by 0.25. 0.25, right? Then I'm going to connect it straight to the shoulder tip, just like this. Then I'll go ahead and get the bust measurement divided by 4 from that center back contour line, right? The bust measurement divided by 4. I'll mark it. Then I'm going to use the curvy part of this pattern master to curve the remaining part of the armhole. Okay. Then I'll come to the waist and take the waist measurement divided by 4. I'll mark it. I won't be adding that to this back part. You can decide to do that if you want. So there's no that allowance. It's just the actual measurement divided by 4. Now I'm going to add my zipper allowance following the center back contour line. I'll be adding just 1 inch all the way to the top, 1 inch, and that will be the zipper allowance. If you use half inch, add your half inch. If it's 0.75 you use as your zipper allowance, just go ahead and add it. But I won't advise that you use anything more than 1 inch as your zipper allowance so that it will not be bulky. Now I'll simply go ahead and cut out the pattern, and we are basically done with the back pattern. Now this was why I corrected the mistake. I checked the pattern. Thank God I even checked pattern before transferring to the fabric. So I measured again and I realized that I was supposed to use 16 inches because 17.5 minus 1.5, it's 16 inches, right? And I used then 1.5 for the bust dart. So I'm going to just open the bust dart. Then at this point, I would be doing 2 inches for the bust dart. So I'll just mark 2 inches, then connect it back, and then close the dart back. Okay, that way it will now align with the back pattern. So do well to always check your patterns before transferring to the fabric, because it will save you from a lot. Imagine if I did not check this. So I checked again, and I need to trim out about 0.25 from the back part on the armhole, and now it's aligning. So these are all the pattern both for the front and then the back. I would simply go ahead now and transfer all of this pattern to the fabric, and I'll be using this Ankara as the bodice of the blouse, right? Then for the yoke and the sleeve, I will be using this doll face for it. Okay, now let's cut the front part of the peplum. Okay, we are going to just cut that straight. It's not going to be in flare form, and you're going to take note of your waist measurement. The waist measurement I'm working with is 33 inches, and we're going to cut just for the front, which is about 16.5. Okay, and I will be adding extra 8 inches for the pleats on both sides for the front. Okay, so when I add the first four, it's going to be 20.5, then the second one is going to be 24.5, and I'll be adding extra 2 inches at least for the joining and stitching allowance. Okay, so that 27, now I'm going to divide it into two. The whole 27, I'm going to divide it into two. We are going to cut this on fold, right? And here it's about 13.5. Okay, I have 14 inches there, which is still okay. Now for the length, you're first going to take note of the actual length for your blouse. Okay, after minusing the half length, whatever you have left to complete the blouse, you're going to take note of that. Then you're going to add at least 3 inches, depending on how long you want it, but 3 inches works just fine from your actual blouse length. Okay, if you want it really pointy, you can do 4 inches, 5 inches, or even more, but I will be doing 4 inches for my case. Okay, Then I'll go ahead and cut out the fabric just like this. Now I'll be marking the bust band measurement, that is the nipple to nipple measurement. I'll be marking it here from the folded part of the fabric. I'll mark it. Then I'll be marking the first 4 inches. This fabric is on fold, so I will just mark 4 inches. I'll fold it this way, then measure again to see that I have what I should have as the whole, yeah, as the whole measurement for the waist plus even allowance. I don't know if you understand. So at this point, just make sure, do as if you're pleating or the pleat is already there, and then you measure the waist again to be sure that you have what you should have plus even allowance. And I have an extra 1.5 allowance, right? Now you're going to come to this side and mark your actual blouse length, and then I'm using 10 inches. Okay, then from this point I said I added extra 4 inches, so I marked 14 inches there. Then I'm going to just connect it straight to that point, just like this. Can you see? You can decide to open the fabric up and do this part. It's really optional. Whichever one you want to do, either you fold it like it's unfold like this and then you curve, or you open it up and curve. I curved this way, and at the end of the day I trimmed off the excess. I just made it straight. Just continue watching, you will see that later in this video. Okay, this is what it looks like. Because it's folded, you can see all those parts that is shooting out. At the end of the day, I made it just straight because it doesn't really matter if you do it this way or you just do it without folding the fabric. Okay, so you're going to mark your nipple to nipple measurement again. Then you're going to mark from that point, mark 4 inches, and then you notch. It's really important. You have to notch it on the fabric now, so that it will be easier for you to do it and why like join it to the half length. Okay, after marking the nipple to nipple measurement, that is the dart line, whatever you use for your dart, you're going to mark it first. Then from that point you mark the 4 inches and notch. So by the time I fold or I plait, you can see the effect, right? Can you see that? But like I said, it doesn't really matter. You can decide to just make this fabric straight, or you just do it this way. And then for the peplum, I'll just be cutting a 360-degree flare for the back. Okay, I don't want the back to be just straight. If you want, like if you want to do the original style, you can just do the same thing you did for the front for the back too. But for me, I want the back to be flare because I feel like it will be nice like that way. So I'm going to make sure I have what will give me the waist circumference plus extra allowance. Okay, I think this is a bit too much, so I'm going to go up a bit from this marked line. Go up a bit, mark it all around, and from that point I'll be marking the length of the peplum, which is about 10.5. Yeah, I'm using 10.5 for this one. I'm going to mark 10.5 all around this line, and then I'll connect it and cut it out. After cutting this out, I'll go ahead and open it on both sides just to make it 2 pieces. Then after that, I'll go ahead and indicate the part I want to use as the center back. It's not necessary, but I just want to use this part as the center back. Okay, then I'll go ahead now and cut lining for this and the interface I'll be using for this. Now the next thing we'll be cutting is the sleeve, and I will just go ahead now and fold this fabric into two. Okay, just like this. Can you see? Just fold it how wide you want the sleeve to be. Or you can decide to add about 2 to 4 inches from normal measurement you use to fold your sleeve to cut your normal sleeve. Okay, here I have about 13 inches, and I'll fold the fabric again this way because I want to cut the two sleeves together. Okay, so here I'm trying to make sure that I have what I use to fold out this fabric. I make sure I have it from up to down, and the length is about 29 inches. The actual sleeve length of the person is 26 inches, so the other 3 inches will be the stitching allowance and the needed allowance that you should add to your normal sleeve length. Okay, so here I'm marking the actual thing I used to fold the sleeve for this person. There will not be any pleat on the shoulder part. Okay, there will not be any pleat, so I'll be going down on that point by 4 inches and basically just cover it the same way you cover your sleeve, your basic sleeve, just something like this. Can you see that? Then I'll be slanting it to the down. Can you see how I'm placing this curl? Making sure that one of the fabric is not shorter on the down part, okay? Like the one under, the fabrics under, that none of them is shortened, that they are just uniform. So after making sure of that, I'll just connect it this way and then I'll go ahead and cut it out. It's simple. So you can decide to use your normal sleeve length or you add extra 2 inches. Remember, elastic will be going to this, and it's totally optional if you want to add to the length or you just want to use your normal length. Now after cutting it out, I'll just go ahead and go up 7 inches plus extra 1 inch for folding allowance. That's 8 inches, okay? So I want 7 inches, then the other 1 inch will be folding allowance. Then I'm going to mark it just the same way you see me do it here. And that's where the elastic will be going. I'll turn it to this other side and I can see the marking, like the chalk from here. So I'm just going to trace it out this way. I'll do the same for the other side, and when we want to sew, I'll show you how to go about it. So these are all the pieces we've cut out for this blouse. This is the yoke. I went ahead to cut Ankara for the lining of the yoke, which is totally optional. Then these are the two sleeves, right? Then this one right here is the front peplum, which we cut straight. Can you see? I went ahead to cut this design here because I do not have lace that I will use for the trimming that they use on this part of the peplum. But I cut out this and then I give it this scallop design. Okay. Then I pressed in paper stay here, and on that scallop design part I pressed in about 2 layers of paper stay. It's totally optional. I just want to make this fabric is super light and stretchy, so I was just trying to stabilize it. If you have your lace fabric, you can just use the edges for this, okay, for this cutout design. But since I do not have that, I had to go through this much stress. So this is the lining. You can see that the main fabric, like the fashion fabric, I made it straight. So later on, I will be trimming of the lining. I don't know why I didn't do that. Then for the lining, I pressed in had gum stay on it. And you can see that I trimmed it off around the waist area just so that it will not be bulky on that point by the time I want to stitch on it, okay? I trimmed off the paper stay around the waist area. Then this is the peplum for the back. I cut out the lining too and I pressed in 1 layer of paper stay on both fashion fabric and lining. And this right here is the center front, and I'm using same fabric as the lining, which I pressed in 1 layer of paper stay on both fashion fabric and lining. Then there's wording on the fashion fabric. This right here is the side front. I'm using same fabric as the lining too. There's interface on both fashion fabric and the lining. Then this is the back part. In the next video, we'll be joining all of these pieces together, and I hope to see you there. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and I'll see you on my next one. Be good. Bye.